Hey, what's up everybody? This is GeekyAviseq's once again here from Dallas, Texas, and today I'm bringing you the review of the Google Pixel 3 XL. The reason I'm doing this review today is because I just got my Galaxy S10 from the pre-order delivered, and before I'm planning to switch over to that device, I thought let me just do this long-term review of the Google 3 Pixel. So before I get into the details of this review, I just want to make sure that I'm gonna first talk about the overall specifications, the different variants this phone is available in, and then I'm gonna talk about the good things that I really like about the phone. Then I'm gonna talk about the things that I didn't like so much, and then I'm gonna conclude overall impression about this phone from my previous devices and so on. So right off the bat, these phone comes in two different variants. One is the regular Pixel 3 and the Pixel 3 XL. So other than the display and the battery size, there's no difference between the two devices. So basically the Pixel 3 comes with a 5.5-inch FHD plus display with a 443 ppi, and the Pixel 3 XL comes at 6.3-inch QHD plus at 523 ppi. Both the displays are QLED displays, and both have a 1,000:1 contrast ratio with true black, and both are UHDA, HDR certified devices. So in terms of battery, the Pixel 3 has a 2914 milliamp hour battery, and the Pixel 3 XL has a 3440 milliamp hour battery. So basically, other than those two, the display and the battery size, there's no difference between the two phones. So in terms of the rest of the specifications, both the front and the back are Gorilla Glass 5, and it's powered by the octa-core Snapdragon 845 with 4 gigs of RAM and the Adreno 630. In terms of camera, it has a single rear camera, which is like a 12.2 megapixel dual pixel camera with a 1.4 micrometer sensor with a f1.8 aperture. The rear camera does support both optical and electronic image stabilization. In the front camera, it has dual front cameras. Both are at 8 megapixel, but one of the cameras is like a wide angle camera. One thing you should note, that the front camera only supports 1080p at 30 frames per second, so there's no 4K recording from the front cameras. The rear camera does do 4K at 30 frames per second. It comes in 3 different color variants and 2 different storage sizes. So what I have is a clearly white, there's a black which is called just black, and there's a rose gold pink version which is also called not pink. These are also the frame is aluminum, and it has a hybrid coating giving it IP68 water and rust resistance. Other than that, it does have a USB-C charging port and a SIM card slot, 2 storage variants, 64 and 128 gigs. You can buy this from either from Google Play Store and activate it on Google Fi, or you can just activate it in any of the 4 major carriers or their subsidiary here in US, or you can buy it directly from Verizon. The difference between buying it from Google Play Store directly or Verizon is the phone that you get from Verizon will be bootloader locked. So basically you wouldn't be able to do any kinds of modifications that requires elevated access, like as like a root chooser. No custom ROMs, no custom recoveries, no other tweaks in the kernel and all that. But however, you are able to do that if you get that from the Google Play Store version. So now let's look at what comes in the box. So basically you have the phone, I have the clearly white version, the tray, the manuals and the SIM card eject tool. You do have the Pixel Buds, then you have the charging cable, the USB-C to USB-B dongle, USB-C to 3.5mm audio jack, and there's the 18-watt power delivery quick charger. So compared to Apple. At least Google did include the Pixel buds. This is not the wireless ones, this is the wired one, but it does have the Google Assistant built in, so which is pretty cool. It retails for about $30, so Google did include that, and it also included the USB-C to the 3.5 audio jack. So if you already have a nice pair of headphones, you don't have to buy the dongle outside, and you can just directly go ahead and use that. Also the USB-C to USB-B, which lets you transfer your data from an older Android or an iPhone to your Pixel. So now let's talk about what I really liked about this phone. First, so the first thing that I will say is the best is like the camera. Even though it just has a single camera in the back, it's just outstanding. I have compared this against my older phone, which was a Galaxy S9 Plus. Then I compared it with the Note 9. I compared it with the iPhone XS. I compared it with the iPhone XR. And I mean, while the iPhone and the Note 9 comes pretty close, but it is not as good as the Pixel 3. So basically, if you want a smartphone which is the best camera, hands down, this is the phone to get. Everything, like, you know, we had already been known that Google had been doing an incredible job with their portrait, but they also included two new things here. So this time they had this night sight, which basically takes you amazing pictures in low light. I've compared with many other devices, from the Samsungs to the LG G7 ThinQ, which has a super bright camera mode. And even when I used the Google camera port in my Samsungs and LGs, I was still not able to get the same kind of picture quality and the processing that I got from Pixel 3. So it takes, I mean, you have to see it to believe it. I mean, even the iPhone XS was not even like the pictures in low light. They were not even close to what the Note 9 took. So even what the S9 Plus took. So basically Samsung, due to its, you know, much more wider aperture, where it can go as low as f1.5, it does incredible. So if next time, if some of your iPhone fans or iPhone users tells you that they have the best camera, ask them to take a low light picture, and then you can see how much better the, you know, wider aperture helps, and how much better the Samsung or this Google actually, you know, takes the picture. So now, apart from the camera, the nice part is that this is a flagship level device. So all the specs on this is flagship. It does have water and dust resistance. It has the latest microprocessor from Snapdragon. It has got like 4 gigs of RAM, 64 or 128 gigs of storage. It has a QHD plus OLED display. It has dual, you know, stereo, like dual front-facing stereo speakers, dual cameras, one of which is wide angle, and then on top of that, it runs Android 9, and since it's a Pixel, it is always going to run the latest version of Android directly from Google. So that's another thing, stock, plain vanilla stock Android, and that to the latest one, and there's absolutely no bloatware, no third-party apps, nothing that can slow down your Android experience on this device. So that's amazing. That's one of the other things. A lot of people like Pixel, or, you know, some of the other phones which are very close to stock Android, like OnePlus 6T, and then some of the Motorola phones. But Motorola is kind of like, it's very late in pushing the updates, so it would probably never see an update from the one that it got released with. But OnePlus did a great job, I mean, in terms of releasing the updates. So did the Essential and the Razr phone, and then only I'm beaten by, you know, Pixel, which is a Google phone, so obviously it gets the direct and the most latest updates. You can also sign up for the beta program for Android, and you can try out the newer builds, the beta builds on your phone, but I wouldn't recommend that if this is your daily driver, because the beta builds seem to have a lot of issues with, you know, things are broken in there, so that's for testing. So don't do that if this is your daily driver. So what I love, the camera, the software experience. Third thing I like is that this device works for any carrier in the US. So all 4 major carriers like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, and all their MVNOs and their sister companies like Metro PCS or Cricket Wireless or Simple Mobile or any of the TracFone brands. So basically this phone works for all carriers. They have only one phone which works. You don't have to buy a different carrier version from. Now coming to the things I that didn't like so much. So some of that dislikes is based on the carrier I'm currently on. But the first thing I didn't like about this is this huge notch. Man, this notch is so big and thick. Like, not only this is wide, this is also very fat. So I'm just like couldn't, like, every time this is kind of an eyesore to me. Within any app, I just can't seem to ignore the notch if the app has been adjusted to account for the notch. For some reason, I just see it just gets in the way. Even after having this phone for 3 months since Thanksgiving, I would say I hate the notch. The second thing that I hate about this is, like, the Wi-Fi is pretty selective. So if you have to connect to a gateway and for some reason the gateway certificate, the SSL certificate has expired or something, it doesn't even show you the warning message and then you can ignore and connect to it. It would simply not connect. It would just sit there and it would just say authentication required. It happened to me at several places and I was not able to connect to Wi-Fi, where I could easily connect to those Wi-Fi's with my Samsung or my LG or even my iPhone after ignoring the warning message and saying, okay, it's okay, I want to take the risk. The third annoying thing is the Bluetooth. I don't know if this is my assumption, but it seems like most of the plain vanilla Android or stock Android or close to stock Android phones have some kind of limitations in their Bluetooth stack implementation. And when you connect multiple devices, they are always more finicky than, an iPhone or, a Samsung or an LG, because I always felt like they will disconnect, they will not transfer from one device to the other. I use 3 devices mostly. I have a Plantronics Legend for, while I'm on the commute, talking to. I use a Plantronics Focus when I'm at office, and then I use my Bluetooth audio in the car when I'm driving, and then I have my Galaxy S3 Frontier watch. So with this Pixel 3 XL, my watch wouldn't stay connected. It will constantly, I have tried every setting, I disabled the power saving mode in Bluetooth and all that. Nothing worked. And after some time, I just gave up. Then it won't switch from one of the headsets to the another, even though, I'm manually choosing the one which I want to connect to. Sometimes if I'm not even connected to multiple devices, I'm connected to one headset and it wouldn't even connect to that headset until and unless I reboot the phone. So that was kind of a weird. Now the last thing, which is kind of not entirely Google's fault, but I would say it's a combination of both Sprint and Google. So this phone is a official phone for Google Fi, and Google Fi runs on Sprint and T-Mobile, and it does have VoLTE in either of the 2 networks. But if you take this phone to Sprint, you have 0 VoLTE. You only have Wi-Fi calling. So what it means is, like, if you are at work, like what happened to me, it won't connect to the Wi-Fi because it wouldn't even give me the screen where it would say the SSL certificate has expired and I could ignore it. Then if I'm on a call, I have absolute 0 data. So I wouldn't get my emails, I wouldn't get my WhatsApp messages, I wouldn't give any other notifications at all when I'm actually attending a call or making a call through this phone, which is like ridiculous, because for my job, I have to be on the call for several hours, and if I don't have access to data and if I don't get my emails, it's just kind of it's a deal breaker. So I would say I didn't like that. So I can't, like, Sprint keeps saying that they're gonna bring the VoLTE to Pixel very soon. Been hearing that from December, and this is March now, and no updates as of. It's still no VoLTE at all. The other thing which I was disappointed with this was, the ergonomics or the form factor. This is a pretty wide device, and it's pretty heavy. So compared to the Note 9, I felt this device was harder for one-handed use because it felt a little heavier and, wider. So it was harder for me to hold this device. So I would prefer the Note 9, but even the Note 9 is too big for me, and I actually like the rounded corners on the S9 Plus, which seemed like it worked much better. Also, the LG G7 ThinQ It was much more narrower and was easy to, and the screen sizes are pretty darn close, like between 6.1 to 6.2 and 6.3 inches. So 0.1 inches probably doesn't make a difference. I would rather have a phone which is more comfortable. The other disappointing factor was the battery life. Even though this has a 3430 milliamp hour battery, the same size battery as the Galaxy S9 Plus, and this runs plain vanilla Android. For some reason, this didn't outlast the Samsung at all. Samsung is known to have the worst battery lives, but when I was using this daily between this and the Samsung, I just felt like they were probably the same. I just felt I had to charge this phone as many times I have to usually charge my Samsung. So I didn't see a noticeable difference, even though my usage remained the same. I didn't make a scientific measure of actually playing a video and seeing how many minutes it took and all that. But I just, from my regular usage, I didn't feel that this had an incredible battery life. However, my original Pixel and the Pixel 2 XL, I was pretty impressed with the battery life. It just seemed like lasted forever. And the only other phone which beat the Pixel in battery life was the original Moto Z Play. That phone, I was like, even if I was on the phone all day messing with it, I wouldn't be able to kill that before 2 days. So it still had 2 days of battery life, and for a regular normal person just barely uses the phone or just a medium user, that phone would last at least 3 to 4 days on a single charge. But this Pixel 3 XL, I had to actually couldn't get the whole day out of this phone. I had to charge right after I came from work, so that's around 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I charged the device and left home at around 8, and I did plug it in on my car charger, so it got fully charged when I got to work, and then I had to charge it once I came home around 6, and then whole night it was also charging. So that was pretty disappointing. There's another thing that finally made me pre-order the Galaxy S10 was, even though the camera is outstanding on this one, there is a lot of memory management issues that are going on with this device. For some reason it feels like the 4 gigs of RAM is not enough anymore, even though this is running stock vanilla Android with no bloatware at all or no third-party apps. This has been pointed out by some of the other reviewers like MKBHD and Unboxing Therapy and all that. What I noticed is there was a bug where we would take a picture and it wouldn't save it to your gallery. So basically you would lose out on some of the pictures. You can actually, when you take the picture, it would show, you can actually zoom in and you can see that it did, you see the preview, but when you go back and look at your gallery, the picture is not saved at all. So that was pretty annoying because I did lose some good shots that I was supposed to, I thought it was pretty disappointing. Now the other problem, while with the newer security updates, I think the January security patch, they kind of fixed that issue, but I don't really trust it because now I'm scared if I take a picture with this phone if it's gonna save or not. So I always take another picture with my another phone and make sure that I have the picture in case this wouldn't save it. The other annoying feature is the camera. When you have the camera app open and you have any other app, especially the Maps app, so if you are on the Maps and you open the camera app and then you switch between the two, it would just close the Map app for no reason. It won't, it didn't do it now because it reset this device. So it's pretty annoying that it would, when you open the camera, for some reason it would close some of the applications in the background, and then sometimes the camera would just be non-responsive. There would be laggy shutter, if you keep clicking, once you click it would just wait for it to save the image. It takes a while for it to take the image, and if you want to do the burst shots and all that, you just feel like it's not gonna even happen. And then when you switch between the front and rear cameras, sometimes I felt there was a lot of lag. It doesn't happen every time, but you cannot really predict when it would happen, and it did happen at times when I just needed the phone to cooperate and it didn't, and that's why I was pretty disappointed. And then I finally decided, hey, this is not the phone that I want to keep as my main device, and I'm gonna get rid of it and find something which works better. So I was back to my what I felt was the Samsung S9 Plus was still, even though it's a year-old phone, did pretty good. I don't have the Note 9 anymore. All the tests that I did with the Note 9 is from my friend's Note 9, but I was using the Galaxy S9 Plus, and I felt that overall, after Samsung pushed the One UI update, that phone actually feels faster than the Google. Yeah, believe it or not, sounds, I know it kind of sounds ridiculous that I'm saying a Samsung phone runs faster than the Pixel. Yeah, after the Samsung did a great job with the One UI, and after the One UI update, I just felt there was no incentive for me to even buy a newer, like the Galaxy S10. I just bought it because they did have a good trade-in offer and all that, so there were a bunch of freebies and all that, so I just decided to. But I was very happy with the S9 Plus, except for the camera, because what I'm disappointed with the Samsung is like their front cameras. They have this weird effect where they paintbrush your face and soften it, even though I don't want it, and even if I turn the beauty mode to 0, for some reason I don't like that. The Pixel and the iPhones does a great job. I mean, it keeps your image like sharp and the way it's supposed to be without, but overall, is this phone a good buy? I would say at the price, if you can get this phone at a discount, like if you can get it on an offer from Verizon, sometimes they do give this phone away for 50% off. Basically, you get bill credits for 24 months. If you are on Verizon, you can do that. Yeah, definitely worth it, because some of the issues that I mentioned is specific to Sprint. And then I'm hopeful that all these memory management issues and the other glitches will go away as Google rolls out more updates. So most of the problems this phone has is associated with the software than to the hardware, because they cannot take the notch away, so it's gonna be there, so you're gonna get used to it, I guess. And it's gonna feel a little heavy and large to hold in the hand. It's not so, but if you have big hands, then that's also not a problem. But the rest of the things, like the stability issues with the camera and the overall performance and the way the phone lags and all those things, probably could be optimized by Google in the future, and maybe Sprint would ultimately open up VoLTE for that. So conclusion, is this phone a good phone? If you value camera, if you want a phone which has the best camera in a smartphone, I would say go for it. The camera on this Pixel 3 is actually better than even the S10. I mean, I know there's a lot of promotions going on and a lot of YouTube videos where people are saying the S10 camera takes better pictures and blah blah blah. But I did compare. I didn't do an in-depth review, but once I do that, I will also upload that for you guys to see. But at this point, I mean, if you want a phone, actually I would suggest, if you don't need the 6.3-inch screen, you can actually go for the smaller version of this phone, which is the regular Pixel 3, and without the notch, that phone looks much better, much nicer one, the one-handed use. And then in terms of battery life, even though that has 500 milliamp hours battery power less capacity, I didn't see much of a difference between the battery life. Probably only a few, maybe an hour or two, that you get extra juice for this one, that's why I would prefer the Pixel 3 versus the Pixel 3 XL. So that's all, guys. Do leave in your comments and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video of the Samsung Galaxy S10. Thank you. Bye.